colloquial definition of a habit is a behavior that has been repeated enough times to be more or less automatic. So things that you can do pretty much without thinking about them. Unplugging your toaster after each use, or tying your shoes, or brushing your teeth. Things that you pretty much just go on autopilot when you do them. Now, we often use the word habit to mean different things than that, and we can get into this more. Like, you might say things like, I want to get in the habit of working out, or I want to get in the habit of writing every day. And I know what you mean when you say that, right? You mean I want to make it a regular practice. I want to make it this daily ritual that I follow. You're never going to go like on autopilot and forget what you write for an hour. Like, it's a more effortful, conscious thing. So we can talk about some of that distinction, particularly with making habits easy. What you really want to do is make the beginning easy and automatic, and then the rest of the routine can follow naturally, even if you're consciously thinking about it. So that's what a habit is. It's this automatic response. Now, why does the brain build them? What role does it play? Well, as you go through life, you need energy to survive. And this is true not just for humans, but for all organisms need some kind of energy to survive. And getting energy requires energy. You need to eat food to be able to walk around and find the next meal. And using energy is expensive because the more energy you use, the less you have available for the other things that life throws at you. And so your brain is looking for ways to conserve energy whenever possible. And habits are a great method for doing that. And it makes that whole process of finding energy, solving the problems of life, and getting through things easier. It requires less energy and attention and effort than it did before. I started to realize that both luck and habits play a role in life, but that you have control over your habits. And the funny thing is, we're building them all the time, but a lot of people don't feel like they have control over their habits. They feel like their habits are taking control of them, that they're like a victim of these bad routines. And once you start to dive in a little bit and like uncover the layers and realize what a habit is and how it works, then you start to develop a little more control over it. And I think if we're going to be building habits anyway, then it makes more sense to be able to understand how they work and how to structure them so that you can be the architect of your habits rather than the victim of them. It's not that luck and randomness and uncertainty don't play a role in life. They do. You know, luck is a part of all of our lives to a certain degree, both good fortune and bad. But by definition, you don't have control over luck. And your habits also matter. And I think that the reason they're so worthwhile to focus on and understand is that they are the portion of your life that you can influence that also determines your outcomes. It's not just luck, it's not just habits, but one of those you have control over. And so it makes sense. The only reasonable strategy is to focus on what you can control. If you spend all of your time focusing on things you can't control, then you're just going to end up frustrated.
So why is it so hard to pay attention? Well, studies show that even when we're really trying to pay attention to something, like maybe this talk, at some point about half of us will drift off into a daydream or have this urge to check our Twitter feed. So what's going on here? It turns out that we're fighting one of the most evolutionarily conserved learning processes currently known in science, one that's conserved back to the most basic nervous systems known to man. This reward-based learning process is called positive and negative reinforcement, and basically goes like this. We see some food that looks good. Our brain says, calories, survival. We eat the food, we taste it tastes good. And especially with sugar, our body sends a signal to our brain that says, remember what you're eating and where you found it. We lay down this context-dependent memory and learn to repeat the process next time. See food, eat food, feel good, repeat. Trigger, behavior, reward. Simple, right? Well, after a while, our creative brains say, you know what? You can use this for more than just remembering where food is. You know, next time you feel bad, why don't you try eating something good so you'll feel better? We thank our brains for the great idea. Try this and quickly learn that if we eat chocolate or ice cream when we're mad or sad, we feel better. Same process, just a different trigger. Instead of this hunger signal coming from our stomach, this emotional signal, feeling sad, triggers that urge to eat. Maybe in our teenage years, we were a nerd at school, and we see those rebel kids outside smoking, and we think, hey, I want to be cool, so we start smoking. The Marlboro Man wasn't a dork, and that was no accident. See cool, smoke to be cool, feel good. Repeat. Trigger, behavior, reward. And each time we do this, we learn to repeat the process, and it becomes a habit. So later, feeling stressed out triggers that urge to smoke a cigarette or to eat something sweet. Now with these same brain processes, we've gone from learning to survive to literally killing ourselves with these habits. Obesity and smoking are among the leading preventable causes of morbidity and mortality in the world.
This mind of ours is constantly creating thoughts. If we utilize that power in the proper direction, we can completely transform our life. But that same thought power, when misutilized, when left uncontrolled, can take us to the darkest depths. Maharaj Ji gives the example. He says, when you are eating, sometimes you get a कंकड़, a stone. Now what do? Do you say, अब आ गया तो आने दो, खा लो इसको? You are alert. Oh, what happened? There's a stone. Immediately you reject it. Why? It's not worthy of eating. If it goes inside, gadbad karega. So we are so careful when it comes to putting physical things inside. And with the thought process, we are careless. Harboring hatred, harboring envy, harboring resentment. Half the energies go in this. In the hatred, envy, resentment, fear. Now these are unwholesome thoughts. So first of all, we need to be aware. This thought is not good for me. When we are aware, we can then put our practice into action. And what is the practice to put into action?
फर्स्ट वे, फाइंड आउट स्ट्रॉन्ग रीजन। कार्य कारण सिद्धांत के मुताबिक हम अपना जो भी कार्य करते हैं उसके पीछे कोई ना कोई कारण अवश्य होता ही है। हम जो भी बैड हैबिट करते हैं उसके पीछे क्या कारण है वह हम सभी को मालूम होगा, और उस कारण से हमारा मानसिक एवं बौद्धिक विकास नहीं होता, यह भी हमें मालूम है। इसलिए हम बैड हैबिट को छोड़ना चाहते हैं। इसके लिए सबसे पहले फाइंड आउट अ स्ट्रॉन्ग रीज़न, क्यों हम बैड हैबिट को ब्रेक करना चाहते हैं। रीज़न हमें इसलिए ढूंढना होगा क्योंकि हमारी बुद्धि को अगर रीज़न मालूम होगा तो हम जब भी और जहाँ भी बैड हैबिट करने की शुरुआत करेंगे तो हमारा इंटेलिजेंस हमारे सामने उस रीज़न को लाकर खड़ा कर देगा।
Reason. You need a really powerful reason for why you're making this new change in your life. If you don't have a deep, profound reason in your life, it'll be really, really difficult. I'll give you an example. If someone says that they want to quit drinking alcohol just because they want to do it, it's different from someone saying, I want to quit drinking alcohol because I want to save my family. I want to keep my family together, and this habit is ruining our interactions, and so I really want to kick this habit. Notice the difference in reason, right? Even if we want to learn something, it's like, oh, I want to learn to play an instrument. Why? Oh, just because I feel like it. Or I want to learn to play an instrument because I want to propose by playing the piano. Notice the depth of reason. Reason is the first R that's needed to strengthen the guard, and it's almost like the guard building its foundation. So the monk mind is based on creating a strong sense of reason. Now, what I want you to do is choose that one thing you're trying to change in your life right now, and I want you to ask yourself, what's your real reason for wanting to change it? What is your deep reason for wanting to change it? Now, our reasons can also be negative or positive. A negative reason can be revenge, or a negative reason can be getting our own back or showing people, right? It's kind of like that look at me now kind of feeling. And we know that in the long term, that won't satisfy us because, again, we're seeking validation from someone feeling differently about us. But our reason being for people that we love, Our reason being for ourselves, our reason being a really heartfelt, deep internal belief that if we don't change this, it's not going to be good for us or the people we love.
जैसा कि कोई बंदा है जो बैड हैबिट के चंगुल में फंस गया है और वह गवर्नमेंट एग्जाम की तैयारी भी कर रहा है। हमारे फर्स्ट वे के मुताबिक वह सोचता है कि मेरा आईपीएस बनने का जो सपना है उसके बीच मेरी बैड हैबिट आती है। मेरे माता पिता जिनको मेरे पर पूरा विश्वास है और मैं उनके इस विश्वास को नहीं तोड़ूंगा, और साथ में आईपीएस बनने के बाद मैं अपने परिवार का सोशल स्टेटस एवं रेप्यूटेशन बढ़ा सकता हूँ। इसके साथ मुझे अपने देश की सेवा करने का सबसे बड़ा मौका भी मिलेगा। ऐसे सोचने के बाद वह बंदा बैड हैबिट पर कंट्रोल कर सकता है लेकिन ब्रेक नहीं कर सकता। इसके लिए दूसरा रास्ता है रिसर्च का। अपने स्ट्रॉन्ग रीजन को और भी ज़्यादा मजबूत बनाने के लिए हमें रिसर्च करनी होगी। इसके लिए ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा किताबें पढ़ना, ज़्यादा सेल्फ स्टडी एवं सेल्फ ऑब्जर्वेशन करना, अपने मित्र के साथ उस विषय पर खुलकर चर्चा और चिंतन कर सकते हैं ताकि हम अपनी बैड हैबिट को ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा समझ सके एवं उसको छोड़ने के लिए सीरियस हो जाए।
Is research. Your reason is given more ammunition and depth through good research. What I mean by that is you may pick up the phone to a coach. You may speak to someone who's already mastered that habit. You may focus on reading about books and watching documentaries and listening to podcasts about that subject. The more you absorb information, the more likely you are to create transformation. Remember that. The more you absorb information, the more you're likely to create transformation, because now you have so much research that is consistently convincing the God to help convince the senses. Every time you want something or see something or chase something, the God can say, but do you remember when we read that study? Do you remember when we watched that documentary? Do you remember when you spoke to that coach? And all of a sudden, you have so much more reasoning power when you research. So the second step is research, and the best way are books, podcasts, and people, right? Books, podcasts, and people are the best forms of research. When you want to create a habit change in your life, make sure that what you listen to, what you read, and what you speak about is about the subject you're trying to grow in. When you immerse yourself in that way, you will see maximum impact in your life.
Third way, replace. जिस बैड हैबिट को हम ब्रेक करना चाहते हैं उसके बदले में गुड हैबिट को रिप्लेस करना होगा और उसके साथ अपने गोल पर ज़्यादा ध्यान देना होगा ताकि हमारा मन बैड हैबिट के बारे में फिर से विचार न करे। फोर्थ वे, रेपिटेशन। इन तीन बातों को हम जितना ज़्यादा रिपीट करते रहेंगे उतना ज़्यादा हमारा मन मजबूत बनता है और हमारे इंटेलिजेंस में एक तरह का सेल्फ कॉन्फिडेंस डेवलप होता है। इसके बाद तो हम अपनी खुशी को बयां नहीं कर पाते और हमें लगता है कि हमने एक सबसे बड़ी और कई वर्षों से चल रही जंग को जीत लिया हो। लेकिन एक मिनट रुको, क्योंकि दुश्मन अभी भी जिंदा है और किसी भी समय हम पर हमला कर सकता है। इसके लिए हमें अपने सेनापति यानी हमारे इंटेलिजेंस को ज़्यादा मजबूत बनाना होगा, क्योंकि सेनापति जितना ज़्यादा मजबूत होगा उतना ही जंग खेलने में मज़ा आएगा और हम डटकर उसका सामना कर पाएंगे। इसके लिए दुश्मन के 3 वीक पॉइंट है जिसको हमें समझना होगा, जिसे हम 3 प्रैक्टिकल टिप्स कहेंगे। फर्स्ट प्रैक्टिकल टिप, फाइंड आउट ट्रिगर पॉइंट। हम जिस बात को देखकर, सुनकर या फिर सोचकर अपनी बैड हैबिट को दोहराते हैं उसको ही ट्रिगर पॉइंट कहते हैं। जैसा कि स्मोकिंग करने वाला बंदा किसी को देखकर या फिर स्मेल की वजह से या जब स्ट्रेस में होता है तब स्मोकिंग करता हो, तो यह सब उसके ट्रिगर पॉइंट है। हमारे इस वीक पॉइंट को देखते हुए बड़ी बड़ी कंपनियां जैसा कि लेज, अमेज़न, कोका कोला एवं बड़े बड़े शॉपिंग मॉल हमारा इस्तेमाल करते हैं। यह कंपनियां अपने प्रोडक्ट के टेस्ट, साइज, कलर, प्राइस इन सभी पर बहुत सारे एक्सपेरिमेंट करते हैं। उसके बाद उस प्रोडक्ट को किसी सेलिब्रिटी की मदद से हमारे सामने अलग अंदाज में पेश किया जाता है और हम बार बार उसे खाते और खरीदते हैं। सेकंड प्रैक्टिकल टिप, मेक इट सिंपल। गुड हैबिट बनाने की और बैड हैबिट तोड़ने की प्रोसेस को सिंपल बनाना होगा। जैसा कि किसी बंदे को सुबह 8 बजे तक सोते रहने की बैड हैबिट को तोड़ना है, तो शुरुआत उसको धीरे से करनी होगी। उसके लिए 8 बजे की जगह 7:45 को उठ जाना, फिर एक हफ्ते के बाद 7:30 को, फिर 7:15 को, फिर 7 बजे। ऐसे करके वह बंदा 3 महीने के बाद सुबह 5 बजे उठने लगेगा। थर्ड प्रैक्टिकल टिप, इम्प्रूव एवरी डे। सुबह जल्दी उठने के लिए हमें अपने रूटीन में, अपनी छोटी छोटी आदतों में बदलाव लाना होगा और उनको ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा इम्प्रूव करते रहना होगा। जैसा कि सुबह जल्दी उठने के लिए जल्दी सोना आवश्यक है और उस वक्त अपने मोबाइल से बिल्कुल दूर रहना होगा। सोते समय अपने मोबाइल को अपने बिस्तर से दूर रखना, ताकि सुबह जब अलार्म बजे तो उसे बंद करने के लिए मजबूरन उठना ही पड़ेगा। इस तरह से इम्प्रूवमेंट कर सकते हैं। इन 7 बातों को ध्यानपूर्वक करने से हम बैड हैबिट को आसानी से ब्रेक कर सकते हैं। तो फिर मिलते हैं नेक्स्ट सरप्राइजिंगली एपिसोड में। और इसके साथ दोस्तों, मेरा आपको सजेशन है कि इस चैनल को जरूर 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 सब्सक्राइब करें, ताकि सफलता की इस रेस में हम साथ में दौड़ सकें। धन्यवाद। स्वस्थ रहो, मस्त रहो, हंसते रहो।